Yeah, there's no doubt that it's going mainstream, and there's no doubt. But what's going mainstream is not VDI. All right, what's going mainstream is desktop virtualization. Now, VDI is a piece of it, but VDI has been around for a while, and it hasn't gone mainstream. Now, we think that a piece of the problem has been the execution and the technology hasn't been good enough. But even with that, the customers that are stepping up to these big, transactions that you heard talked about this morning, they're stepping into desktop virtualization, not VDI, right? Now, they'll have the ability to do some VDI in the mix. You saw that was one of the FlexCast technologies, but it's just one. And they're buying, strategic infrastructure that contemplates, first of all, that today they have all of these different segments of users, and they want to optimize. They want to deliver optimal kinds of computing experiences. And it also contemplates the fact that there will be change. There'll be changes in mix, and they don't really know what those things will be. And so this is an investment in something that, as I said, it's a way to not have to bet. In fact, bet on flexibility, bet on optionality is what you bet on. I mean, this device, you buy it. Well, I bought it and connected to our infrastructure. I didn't have to talk to anybody in IT. Right? And as this has been out, what, 6 weeks now? I think to me, I'm pretty. I was going to say surprised, but it's more than that. Delighted that I see customers who are saying, "Wow, I bought this thing, and I heard it would work, and it just did." All right. Well, that's the power. That's what we've been talking about a long time. You build the infrastructure once, and then with receiver on all these devices, right? You plug in over and over and over again, and not have to reinvent the back end. So they don't have to make any changes, in IT to make this work. It's pretty amazing. And so so once you start experiencing this as a customer, it's like, why don't I do more of this? And then who's getting these in companies?
CEOs.
Right, CFO, and even more. I mean, look, they've been getting MacBooks and for a while, and that's helped us quite a bit as well, because this consumerization, is a top-down and bottom-up phenomenon. People in the middle, they're kind of stuck with the policies, kind of those that are sort of here, right? Or they're stuck, in sort of the day-to-day, the inertia of it. But you have young people from the bottom up, like they don't, policies don't, get in their way, right? And, from the top down, the guys that make the rules in companies, the executives,
break them.
They tend to break them. Hopefully they're breaking them for good reasons, to try to drive business and innovation forward, right? And challenge. So that's the cool thing that's happening. And so we can, we have the infrastructure to serve both of those, ends of the spectrum at a time when it's getting up a lot of momentum because of device proliferation and explosions, like I talked about a little bit this morning. Right? All for really good reason, because they're not flashes in the pan, right? And so it's a fascinating time, and that's why you see a lot of excitement around Citrix. It's like everyone senses this, and I'd like to think we've been preparing ourselves for this for a while, not knowing when or how or whatever, but knowing that the current model of hard coding things just has to break. It's not, it just has to break. It's kind of like, you see something that's flexible and it bends and bends. Finally, like a branch of a tree, eventually it's going to snap. Right? So I think we're starting to see that in a lot of places, and that's good for our business and good for the relationship we have with customers and partners that benefit from all of that, whether they're on the industry side or they're on the integration side. So my observation is this, a few variables. First of all, there's an IT organization sort of, well, let's start at the top. Number one is, for a company, is technology strategic to us? as a business, yes or no? And there's a mindset about it in every single company, whether it matters or not from a strategic point of view. So that's sort of a big variable up here. I think the second one is IT philosophy. Are we a leader or are we a laggard? Are we risk takers, okay, or are we just gonna wait? Now, obviously, if technology is not strategic to the company, then being a laggard is okay, you get away with it. And by the way, over many years, the IT organization has that culture, right? It's sort of burned in. Then I think, at the same time, so that's sort of from the top down. Now, think about the bottom up. So here you have born digital, employees coming in and, taking on more and more responsibility in terms of managing and hiring, et cetera, in the business and in IT. So, you have that phenomenon at the same time. So you have experimenting, rule breaking and experimenting going on kind of from the bottom up. So think about that now. If you take, and that I think that is reasonably universal, but will across companies. And if you put that bottom up with a top down in a company that says technology is strategic, okay, and we're more leading edge type players, you see how things could move real fast because you have both top down and bottom up motions. So I don't know how to actually quantify it, but it's what I observe when I see, having been around here a long time and served many of these customers for a long time. I see they're getting more youthful. The IT organizations are getting more youthful, and they're the ones that seem to be pushing forward, faster. But we've got 2 of the top 5 free business apps, and have had since the App Store for the iPad opened. And so a lot is being used in business, but this is a crossover kind of device, right? So and so I think that it's hard to say. Now you can tell who bought it. In other words, did Citrix buy this and let me use it, or did I buy it and let Citrix use it? The fact is, I bought it and let Citrix use it. But that's true for all my stuff, because I tend to buy too much stuff, because I tend to want to have a personal experience with all of it, so I can not get the wool pulled over my eyes, because it's easy to happen in technology. I don't need to tell any of you that because you've heard every pitch in the book. So I tend to be someone who will say, all right, sounds good, let me try it, and I'm on Amazon, or I'm on a site called Dynamism, or I go to Akihabara in Tokyo or wherever, and I'll try to get this thing first because I want to try it, right? Have a personal experience. So it's hard to know whether these things, are going that way. But I think there's a lot of business. There's a lot of business purchasing going on, and I got to tell you, a lot of it is being hooked up to Citrix infrastructure.